Hello, people. Hope everybody doing okay. In this video discussion, I want to talk about the article "The Quaker's Execution as Myth and History" by Carla Gardina Prestina, about four Quakers who got executed for refusing to stay away from the Puritan Commonwealth. The four included the English members of Society of Friends. I'm gonna do my best way to say the names. I'm not too good with names. Marduk Stevenson, William Robinson, and Mary Dreyer. The fourth was the friend William Leda of Barbados. The four was executed between the years 1659, 1660, 1661. So this basically was four Quakers that got persecuted and executed for the religious differences from the Puritans in the colony of Massachusetts. Reading the article, it was something very interesting that the author said, reading on page 442 about the execution. She mentioned about how the Quakers' executions of 1659 to 1661 compared to the Salem witchcraft trials where people was getting executed for their so-called witchcraft beliefs and stuff that happened in Massachusetts, but the the execution of the Quakers was the example of the Puritan intolerance. She also pointed out that how hypocritical the Puritan was, who was also a religious group who escaped persecution from England, who came to the United States to escape persecutions, was also persecuting another religious group based on their religious belief in the Quakers. So basically, if you can look at it, sometimes the people that be opposed become the opposers. Basically, all throughout history. I'm not gonna get too much into that because I know this video is short. But basically, some of the opposers become the ones that do the opposing another group, like the Puritans and the Quakers. Also, another part it was. Another thing that was interesting about this article is the explaining the religious conflicts that happen among groups in the United States. Honestly, reading this article, I wasn't really too aware about how a lot of religion differences and persecution that happen among different religious groups like the Quakers. Usually when I hear about religious conflicts, I usually think about the religious conflicts that happen in Europe between the Protestants and the Catholics, especially England and Spain, especially during the time of Queen Elizabeth I, and all that was current on during that time in the 16 in the 17th century. So this was really fascinating to read this article about the religious conflicts between the Quakers and the Puritans. Another thing too about this article is basically explaining to readers the differences between the martyrdom of the Quakers and the Puritan bigotry. Basically, the two groups had different versions of events, and the Quakers, the Puritans seen them try to do the best way to defend the reason why they executed the four, while the Quakers used it as a martyrdom for the religious cause against the Puritans' persecution. Basically, as the article mentioned, the Quaker version of New England into more popular culture among other people. Most non-Quakers use what happened to the Quakers for their own different controversial purposes. Some examples including William Livingston used the persecution of the Quakers to make a case against the founding of against a religious college. Another example in the 1820s was that a New Yorker wanted to prohibit blacks from voting to the infamous capital laws against the Quakers. So basically, a lot of people who seen what the Quakers did to what the Puritans did to the Quakers, they're trying to use that for their own needs and stuff. Basically, it's just different sides of the events. But I think this article is just pretty interesting to read and very informative and learning about the differences about different groups, about the Puritans and the Quakers. But I look at too that it was some um, hypocrisy among the Puritans how they were persecuting the Quakers and for them to be persecuted, in my opinion. So it is really, like I said, it's an interesting article. Reading about the religion differences, since not all religious people get along and stuff. And the period, the period is it's really just an interesting thing to read about different history we don't know. And I think it was an interesting article, and that's all I have to say. Though I hope you have a good rest of the day.